It's never easy to accept that you have fallen out of love with something that you used to love a lot. That's something that brought you joy, something that was your passion. Well, you don't feel the same about it anymore. In 2019, November 24th, I woke up to the news that one of my favorite wrestlers, Hazuki, was retiring. A month afterwards, Christmas Eve, she had her last match against Natsuko. Normally, this would just be another sad situation in which, sadly, well, she retired, but she did it in her own terms. And honestly, wrestling is not meant to be for long. It's tiring and it's a exhausting and damaging art form. That being said, things are a bit complicated. Hazuki first says that she's retiring because she's fulfilled her dream. She managed to wrestle in Madison Square Garden. And well, that was her objective. Then a few things get out and it gets a bit more complicated. She says that she hates stardom and that nobody should retire the way she did. And rumors start floating around. There's this weird coolness and a lot of things are weird. Seems like something has happened and Hazuki has lost her passion. But in 2021, August 29th, I woke up to different news. Hazuki was back into stardom and she said she was coming back. I was surprised and I was confused, but ultimately happy. Did she find her passion again? What's going on? Well, we cannot be certain for sure. The thing I know for certain is that Hazuki is a phenomenal wrestler, and because of that, I want to give you all the chance to get to know the wild heart and how she started beating again. Hazuki debuted when she was 16 years old in 2014. She debuted with a match against Koguma after being trained in stardom and passing the test to be a professional wrestler. She lost that match, but she showed a lot of promise. She was this young rookie with a lot of energy and a lot of spirit. She was wild, giving herself the nickname of the Wild Heart. And she always had this attitude, this carelessness, this almost disrespectful attitude that entranced people. She didn't follow a lot of norms. She liked herself playing games with her enemies, offering them lollipops that she was already using. A bit disgusting, but hey, to each their own. At the beginning of her career, she mainly was the rookie protege of Io Shirai and Mayu Iwatani. When Io Shirai betrayed Mayu Iwatani to form Queen's Quest, well, Hazuki joined. Obviously, she would join Queen's Quest. It was much more of a energetic, loud, and kind of in between good and evil stable. She could be a bit meaner, and she really admired Io Shirai, and she followed her. Together with Azumi, they were the rookies of that stable, and they had a lot of promise. She had a lot of great matches, and she managed to win for a few times. She managed to get the trios belts, the Artist of Stardom, always choosing the pink one. She was always happy to team with Io Shirai and Azumi, but things change. You see, Io Shirai is considered one of the best wrestlers in Japan. She's topped the list over men for a few years in a row now, and well, after already having Kairi Hojo, known there as Kairi Sane, for WWE, Io Shirai follows suit afterwards. It takes a bit before though, Io Shirai making sure that she can give everyone a proper goodbye, a proper send-off. What you have to know about Stardom is that they love stables, and they love shaking them up. Once a year, there's a match in between the leaders of stables fight in an elimination match, and basically win the ability to be the first, second, third, blah blah blah, to choose somebody to join the stable. It's a draft, and usually things stay quite similar. Io Shirai chooses first Azumi. Okay, that's normal. She's young and she has a lot of potential. Then she chooses Momo Watanabe as second in command. But something happens. Before Io Shirai can say anything, another faction comes in. The current leader of Oeda Dai, the heelish, mean faction from Stardom, named Hazuki. They passed it off as a joke and it's kinda awkward, but now Hazuki is part of Oeda Dai. And yeah, I mean, Oedotai is still stable with great wrestlers, and they still have this mean streak that Hazuki always had, but Hazuki was a Queen's Quest girl. But hey, a draft is a draft, and Hazuki starts being a member of Oedotai. She becomes meaner, she becomes a bit angrier. She's trying to find her place in this faction, and she's a bit mad about it. You see, Kagetsu, the person who chose her, the new leader, is a bit of an asshole in the best way possible. She also sees potential in Hazuki. She's interested, she thinks Hazuki can do cool stuff, so they kind of push her to get rougher, get meaner, and Hazuki does. That mean streak, that wild part of her, she goes full into it. Yeah, she might have started with Mayu Watani and Yu Ushino when they were all still pretty kind and young. Then she went to Queen's Quest, who had a mean streak but not as strong. But here, in Oedotai, a faction known to just don't follow rules, either societal or in the ring, to just be mean, just be assholes, borderline bullies that don't care about anyone but the people in the faction. Yeah, that's kinda cool. And Hazuki goes full Hazuki. She found her place. She is a wild heart after all, and wild hearts need to be free. Things get better when, well, she wins the high speed title. The high speed title in Stardom has been polemic at best, in the sense that a lot of time people felt it was an afterthought. People felt that nobody cared, or that they didn't put enough interest in it. And Hazuki pointed that out. She said that she didn't mean to get this belt, that maybe the match was just a fun thing, that she thought it would be funny, but hey, now that she's won it, she's gonna add some new rules so matches are a bit more interesting. First of all, you have to be fit like her, wrestle a high speed type of match. Also, you have to defeat her in 10 minutes, or it doesn't count. Start styming her matches, trying to beat her score and making sure have it be less time. This reign breathes new life into this title. A title usually forgotten now has this cool gimmick of this asholish heel trying to each time beat their opponent faster, trying to sometimes humiliate them, and just being a bit of an ass the best way possible once again. And people start paying attention to the high-speed title in a different way. She would eventually lose it in a 3-way match, and Death Yama-san managed to win. And yet, some would argue that after that, the high-speed title would go back to being less cool or less relevant. But nonetheless, Hazuki had a great reign. Full of memorable moments, like that time she threw the belt to somebody's face, that time that she boasted about how she defeated Saki Kashima in less than 3 minutes. And not only that, but during that time, because of a lot of betrayals and complicated situations in which Oedotai was kind of changing, she went from being just another member to being the second in command. Hazuki liked that, and she would make sure that Kagetsu knew what she thought. She would not be afraid to put her leader in place and be serious about it. I mean, it's Hazuki. She doesn't ask for forgiveness because, hey, she's allowed to do this. She's great. And one of my favorite matches of all time, and of Hazuki specifically, is a really good show of her. That time she fought Kagetsu. At that time, Kagetsu was the main champion of the company, and Kagetsu handpicked Hazuki as her next challenger. They had a brutal match. You would think that they hated each other, but a lot of times in wrestling, nothing says I love you like respecting you enough to have a match that is very, very violent. Hazuki didn't win. Kagetsu wouldn't drop the belt until quite later. There was a show of potential. Hazuki was so young and only a few years in her career, 4 at the time, and got the potential. But nothing that is great as forever, and as I said, November 24th, 2019, Hazuki would announce her retirement. And yeah, it was a weird situation. When her last promo, or her last words in the Stardom ring, was saying how she hated Stardom and how she was forced to retire, nobody should retire in her situation, well, a lot of people got worried. A lot of people, as I did, thought that maybe she lost her passion. But hey, as long as she's happy and she finds a good retirement post-life, that's great. Stardom was still doing good. They have this new faction, Buena del Mundo, who was formed by Julia, a newer recruit, who basically would be the outsiders, the girls that come outside from Stardom and were just kicking ass. They had a lot of interesting matches, a lot of interesting moments, even after the pandemic and the complicated times. Still, I was not expecting that in 2021, Hazuki would come back. But things get even more interesting. Hazuki said that she was coming back because she was tired of seeing the homegrown talent of Stardom getting surpassed by outsiders and how people were doing nothing. Was she kind of referencing the reason why she left Stardom? Were they blending reality and the kayfabe, the world of what's going on in wrestling? What was going on? But also, she's gonna fight Koguma. You see, I'm doing this video because I want people to understand why Hazuki is so cool. It's not an extensive list of matches or her life and her career. I could not have time or the energy to go into that fact. It would deserve. Yeah, it was only 5 years, but it was a great 5 years. But how interesting. The person she's fighting is Koguma, somebody who also came back to wrestling recently after a longer retirement, or Koguma was the first match. So it almost feels so fitting and beautiful that she's gonna be her first match back. I don't know what's gonna happen with Hazuki. She looks a bit calmer in promos now, so maybe she's not a wild heart anymore, and that's alright. But also, while things can be calmer, we won't know yet for sure who she's gonna be and how she's gonna be until October 9th, she fights Koguma. And honestly, I cannot wait to see whatever happens next with Hazuki. There's a lot of speculation. Some people say that this might be a one-night only thing in Stardom and she might leave. Some other people say that because of what she said about being tired of homegrown talent being surpassed by people from outside of the company, she's gonna form maybe a faction. We don't know yet for sure. All I know is that Hazuki was somebody who, in a lot of her eyes, lost her passion, had this bittersweet ending. She even said so. She didn't like how she retired and she wants to do things differently now. And honestly, I think that's beautiful. Second chances and the opportunity to find yourself again. She was the wild heart of Stardom and she will always be. And it's hard to explain why Hazuki is so cool if you don't see Hazuki wrestling. Because whether she's the wild heart anymore, it's a new stage of her life, all I know is that she is going to be a force to be reckoned with.